The night was silent, the town was sleeping, but inside one small house at the edge of the forest, a man named Daniel could not sleep. He was tossing on his bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to push away the strange headache that had been haunting him for many days. He thought maybe it was stress, maybe too much work in the lab, maybe too much coffee. But tonight, something different happened. At first, it was just a whisper, soft, broken, like the wind, but then it became louder, clear, echoing inside his head. It was not coming from his ears. It was not from outside. It was inside him. A voice filled with fear. Please, please help me. My baby won't wake up. Help her, human. Daniel sat up in shock, his heart racing. He looked around the room, but there was no one. Only the clock ticking on the wall. Only the sound of trees brushing against the window. His hands shook. He told himself he was dreaming. Maybe it was his imagination, but the voice came again, this time sharper, desperate, full of tears. My baby is not breathing, human. Please save her. He covered his ears, but the sound did not stop. It was not entering through sound. It was entering directly into his mind. A cry that could not be blocked. His breath turned shallow. He whispered to himself, "What is happening to me? This is not real. I am losing my mind." But deep inside, something told him it was real. Something ancient. Something that connected life to life. Daniel stumbled to the kitchen, poured water. His reflection in the glass was pale, tired, haunted. He tried to calm himself, yet the voice did not stop. It was weeping now, soft, broken, a mother's cry that touched even the coldest heart. The scientist in him wanted to deny it, but the human in him could not. He had spent years studying signals from the stars, searching for proof that humanity was not alone. He had spent his nights with telescopes, radios, and computers, dreaming that one day he might hear something, and now, here it was, not through machines, not through wires, but inside his very mind. Daniel whispered, "Who are you? What do you want from me?" The reply came, trembling, "I am a mother. My baby will die. Only you can help. Please, please." His chest tightened, fear and curiosity mixed together. He walked to the window and looked at the sky. The stars were burning silently, the moon half hidden by clouds. Somewhere out there, maybe not far, maybe closer than he thought, someone was calling him. He tried to reason. Why me? I am just one man. I am no doctor. I cannot even save myself from loneliness. But the voice shook him again. Because you are human, only human touch can save her. You must come. Daniel froze. The words were strange. Why human? What was special about him? How could a mother not save her own child? Unless she was not human at all. The thought hit him like thunder. His mind raced back to his research, signals he once caught but ignored, strange frequencies that disappeared too fast, strange symbols he could never decode. Could this be linked? Could this be the first real contact? He felt his skin crawl, his heart pounding. This was what he had dreamed of, but now it was wrapped in horror. An alien mother begging inside his head, a child on the edge of death. He paced the room. Every shadow seemed alive, every tick of the clock louder. The cry did not stop. The pain of the voice pressed into his skull, almost unbearable. "Where are you?" he whispered, his voice breaking. The answer came, faint but clear. "Close, closer than you think. Follow the forest. Follow the light." His eyes widened. He looked out the window again, and there, far away between the trees, a faint glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Not fire, not lamp, something else. His breath caught. Fear chained his feet, yet curiosity pulled stronger. He grabbed his coat, grabbed a flashlight, though he knew the glow was brighter than any torch, and stepped outside. The air was cold, the silence heavy. The cry inside his head grew weaker but constant, guiding him like a rope pulling his soul. He walked into the forest, each step sinking into leaves, each sound of a snapping branch making him jump. But he kept going because somewhere in the dark, a baby was not breathing. A mother was begging, and he was the only one who could answer. The glow grew brighter, the cry sharper, his fear deeper, yet he could not turn back. He whispered to himself, "This is madness. This is impossible." But the voice replied softly, "No, human. This is fate." And in that moment, Daniel knew his life would never be the same again. The forest was darker than Daniel remembered. The trees stood like tall giants, their branches reaching like claws over his head. The ground was wet, soft, almost pulling at his shoes. Yet he kept moving, drawn by that strange glow and by the desperate voice in his head. The cry of the mother had changed now. It was no longer only fear. It was also hope, faint hope, as if she knew the human had finally chosen to answer. Daniel's flashlight flickered, but he barely needed it, because the strange light ahead was brighter with every step. It pulsed like a living heart, beating slowly, as if it was guiding him closer. His own heart was racing, louder than his footsteps. He whispered to himself, "This cannot be real. This cannot be happening." But every time he doubted, the voice returned, "Hurry, please hurry. My baby's breath is weak." And he felt the urgency grip his chest. At last, he stepped into a small clearing, and the world froze. In the middle of the clearing was something that his mind struggled to believe. A shape, not a house, not a car, not anything human. It was like a cocoon made of silver light, half buried in the earth, its surface cracked, glowing from within, strange symbols running like rivers of fire acts. Ross its skin. Daniel's mouth went dry. This was no dream. This was no trick of the mind. It was real, an alien craft lying broken in the heart of his own forest, and beside it, on the ground, was a figure. Tall, thin, wrapped in something that shimmered like liquid metal, her face hidden, her arms wrapped tightly around a smaller body. The smaller one was limp, motionless, too still. The glow from the craft shined on them, making the scene look otherworldly, almost holy. The woman looked up, and Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Her eyes glowed faint blue, her face not human yet not terrifying. Soft features twisted in pain and fear. Tears, real tears, ran down her silver cheeks. She looked straight at him, as if she had been waiting for him all her life. "You came." Her voice was not from her lips. It was inside his head again, soft but shaking. "Please, human, please save her." Daniel stepped back, fear crushing him. His mind screamed to run, to leave, to pretend this was never real. But his legs did not obey. He felt rooted to the ground, as if the forest itself held him in place. His scientist mind wanted to study, to ask, to measure, but his human heart only saw the child in her arms, small, fragile, still not breathing. He forced words out. "I am not a doctor. I don't know how to help. I can't." The alien mother shook her head, clutching her child tighter. "No, you can, because you are human. Your touch carries life. Her body cannot answer to me. It must answer to you." Daniel's stomach twisted. What did that even mean? How could his touch save a child from another world? But her voice, her eyes, her trembling hands, all told him she believed it. And in that moment he felt something strange, a pull inside his chest, a warmth in his hands, as if his body already knew something his mind could not understand. He knelt slowly, his knees pressing into the damp soil, his flashlight rolled away, its light weak compared to the glow from the cocoon. He looked at the child, the alien baby, her skin pale silver, her tiny chest barely moving, her lips faint blue. She looked so helpless, so fragile, and for the first time he forgot she was alien. She was simply a child dying. His hand trembled as he reached out. "What if I hurt her? What if I make it worse?" he whispered. The mother's voice cracked. "She is already leaving. You cannot make it worse. Please, please." Daniel placed his hand gently on the baby's chest, expecting cold skin, but instead, he felt a strange vibration, like a faint hum under the surface. His hand warmed, his palm tingled, his heart raced. The glow from the cocoon flickered as if responding to his touch. The baby gasped faintly. Her chest rose a little, then fell. Daniel's eyes widened. "She's breathing," he whispered, but the breath was shallow, weak, disappearing again. The mother sobbed silently, rocking the child. "Not enough, you must give more." Daniel's hand burned now, but he did not pull away. He closed his eyes. He thought of every life he had ever loved and lost. He thought of his own loneliness, his silent house, his forgotten dreams, and he willed his strength into that tiny chest. The glow around them grew brighter, the ground hummed, the trees shivered as if touched by wind, the cocoon pulsed with life. Then suddenly, the baby's eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly with the same blue light as her mother's. She let out a small cry, weak but real, and Daniel felt his chest loosen with relief. The alien mother collapsed forward, clutching her child, tears running freely, her voice shaking inside his head. Thank you, human, you saved her." But before Daniel could answer, before he could even breathe, the ground trembled. "Ed." The air vibrated, the cocoon cracked louder, and from the darkness beyond the trees, shadows began to move, tall, fast, approaching. Daniel turned his head, fear flooding him again, and he knew the real danger was only beginning. The clearing shook as if the earth itself was breathing. Daniel froze, his hand still hovering above the small alien child. The baby's faint blue eyes had opened for only a moment, then closed again, her chest moving slowly but weakly. The mother was whispering in his head, soft and broken. "She lives, but not for long. We must hurry. They will come." Daniel's eyes darted to the forest edge. The shadows were moving closer, tall and silent, shapes too fast to be human. His throat went dry. Fear crawled up his spine. He whispered, "Who are they? What do they want?" The alien mother's voice trembled. "Hunters, they follow me. They follow her. They want the child dead." Daniel's heart pounded harder. His mind screamed to run, to leave this madness behind, but his eyes returned to the small body in the mother's arms, fragile, trembling, breathing only because of him. He could not walk away. The mother lifted her glowing eyes to him, her face tired but fierce. "Human, you must know, she is not only my child, she is yours too." The words struck him like lightning. His mouth opened, but no words came. "What do you mean?" he finally whispered, shaking his head. "That is impossible. She is not." The mother's voice grew steadier now, echoing with strange power. "She is a bridge. Born from two worlds, she carries my blood, but also the spark of humanity. Without humans, she cannot survive. Without her, there will be no peace between our kinds." Daniel staggered back, his thoughts spinning, his breath heavy. A bridge between worlds, her child connected to humanity. How? Why? His head ached with too many questions. The mother's voice softened, desperate again. "We came not as enemies but as seekers. We needed help. Your people turned us away, but I did not give up. I chose another way. I chose life. I chose to bring our worlds together in one body. My baby." Daniel's lips trembled. He whispered, "A half-human child." The alien mother nodded, clutching her daughter close. "Yes, and that is why they hunt her. Because if she lives, there will be hope, but if she dies, there will only be war." The words sank deep into Daniel's heart, heavy and terrifying. War, hope, the future of both species wrapped inside the tiny chest of a dying child. He felt the weight pressing on him like the whole sky. He wanted to deny it, to call it madness, but the truth was in front of his eyes. The baby had answered to his touch. She had opened her eyes because of him. His blood carried something she needed, something her mother could not give. Daniel whispered, "But why me? Why was I chosen?" The mother's eyes glowed brighter. "Because you listened, because you felt my cry, because your heart was not closed like the others. Only one human was needed, and fate brought me to you." Before Daniel could reply, the shadows at the edge of the clearing grew clearer. Tall figures stepped forward, cloaked in dark armor that shimmered like smoke, their faces hidden by masks, their hands carrying long weapons that pulsed with red light. The mother's voice sharpened. "They are here. They will not stop until she is gone. You must decide now, human. Will you stand with us, or will you run and let them take her?" Daniel's body shook, his every instinct screamed to flee, to save himself, but his eyes locked on the baby, her tiny chest rising weakly, her small hand curled around her mother's robe. She was helpless, innocent, and somehow she was part of him. He clenched his fists, breathing hard. "If what you say is true, if she is a bridge between us, then I cannot let them harm her." The mother's eyes filled with light. She whispered with relief, "Then we are not alone." The hunters stepped closer, their weapons glowing brighter. The ground trembled with each step. Daniel grabbed a broken branch from the forest floor, foolish against such power, yet it was all he had. The mother shifted her body, shielding her child, her voice steady in his head. "The secret must not fall to them. If they take her, they will destroy her, and with her, the last chance for peace. You must protect her, even if it costs everything." Daniel swallowed hard, his fear still alive but drowned by something stronger, a rising fire. He whispered to himself, "I never asked for this, but maybe this is why I am here." The hunters raised their weapons, red light humming, ready to strike. Daniel stood between them and the mother, his branch shaking in his hand, his heart beating like thunder. The forest fell silent for one heavy moment. The baby let out a faint cry, and in that fragile sound Daniel found his courage. The mother's voice echoed once more. "Protect her, human. Protect the secret of the child." And as the first red blast tore through the clearing, Daniel stepped forward into the fire. The night exploded with light. Red beams cut through the forest. Trees burned where the blasts touched. Sparks rained on the wet ground. Daniel felt the heat rush past his face as he threw himself to the side, his branch snapping uselessly in his grip. The hunters moved with deadly silence, their glowing weapons aiming again. The alien mother crouched low, shielding her baby, her silver arms wrapped around the child like iron. Her eyes burned blue as she sent a shock of energy into the ground. Roots twisted upward, forming a wall of wood between her and the hunters, but the wall cracked quickly under the airfire. The smell of smoke filled the clearing. Daniel's chest rose and fell in panic. He was only a man, no weapon, no training, yet his heart screamed not to run. The baby's weak cry echoed inside him, and he knew if he abandoned them, no one would stand in the way of the hunters. He spotted a broken piece of the cocoon lying in the dirt, glowing faintly with strange symbols. Without thinking, he grabbed it. The shard burned his hand, but he held it tight. Red light flared from the hunters, and Daniel raised the shard like a shield. To his shock, the blast bent around it, splitting into sparks. The hunters froze for a moment, their masks tilting, confused. The mother's voice pushed into his mind, strong even in fear. The cocoon knows you. It accepts you. You can use it. Fight with it. Daniel looked at the shard. Its glow pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. It hummed softly as if alive. His hand stopped shaking, and for the first time he felt he had a weapon. The hunters spread out, circling, red light glowing brighter. Daniel's body moved on instinct. The shard grew heavier in his grip, then lighter, as if guiding him. When the next blast came, he swung it wide. The energy deflected, striking a tree, splitting it in half. The crash shook the ground. Fear still lived inside him, but now it mixed with something else, a fierce will to fight. He was not a soldier, but he was human, and tonight that had to be enough. The battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. Daniel deflecting, stumbling, rising again. The mother sending bursts of blue light to hold back the hunters. The baby whimpering softly against her chest. Every sound of her breath reminding him why he had not run. But his body was failing. His arms ached. His chest burned. Sweat stung his eyes. The shard grew hotter in his hand, each strike sending pain through his bones. He fell to one knee. The hunters moving closer, their weapons humming for two. "A final blow," the mother cried out, her voice sharp in his head. "You cannot stop. She needs you. Her life is tied to yours now. If you fall, she falls." Daniel gasped, "I can't. I'm only human." The mother's eyes flared brighter. "That is why you can. Because you are human. Because your strength is not in power, but in choice." The words struck something deep inside him. Memories flashed, his childhood, his failures, the empty nights in his lonely house, all the times he told himself he was nothing, and now here he was, holding the line between a dying child and an army. Maybe his life had always been leading to this moment. With a roar, he pushed himself up, the shard blazing like fire, his body moving faster than his fear. He swung wide, deflecting the blast back into one of the hunters. The figure stumbled, its armor cracking, blue sparks spilling out. It fell with a heavy thud. The others paused, their heads turning toward their fallen ally. For the first time they hesitated. Daniel saw it, and he knew they were not unstoppable. They could be beaten. But before he could press forward, the ground shook violently. The cocoon behind him cracked louder, light spilling out like liquid fire. The forest glowed with unnatural brightness. The hunters retreated into the shadows, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared, their voices echoing like distant thunder. "The child will not live, human. The end is coming." Silence followed, broken only by the faint cry of the baby. The mother collapsed onto the ground, holding her child, her face pale with exhaustion. Daniel dropped the shard, his hand blistered and raw. He fell to his knees, his breath ragged. For a long moment the clearing was still, smoke curling into the night sky, the smell of burning wood heavy in the air. Daniel stared at his hands, trembling, the weight of what just happened pressing on him. He howled. Ad fought, he had survived, but he had also seen the truth. They would keep coming, they would not stop. The mother's voice entered his mind again, soft, weak, but filled with gratitude. "You saved her again, but she is still fading. Her life is not safe, not yet. We must take her to your world, to your tools, your medicine, your blood." Daniel's heart twisted. He looked at the baby, her small chest rising and falling slowly, each breath a battle, her tiny hand curled weakly against her mother's silver skin. She was alive, but barely. He whispered, "I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can protect her from all of this." The mother's glowing eyes met his. "You already have, and you will, because now her fate and yours are the same." Daniel closed his eyes, exhaustion pulling at him, fear clawing his chest. Yet deep inside, beneath all the doubt, a spark had lit, a small but steady flame. He would not abandon them. He could not. The night grew quiet again, the cocoon's light fading to a soft glow, the hunters gone but not defeated, the forest whispering as if it had seen too much. Daniel sat beside the mother and her child, his body broken but his resolve unshaken. And as the first pale light of dawn touched the horizon, Daniel understood that his struggle was only beginning. The first light of dawn spilled through the trees, but it brought no peace. Daniel's body ached from the fight, his blistered hand throbbed. The alien mother sat on the ground, her child pressed close to her chest, the baby's breathing shallow, the cocoon behind them cracked and silent, its glow fading like a dying fire. Daniel stood slowly, every muscle heavy. He looked at the mother, his voice hoarse. "We cannot stay here. They will come again." She nodded, her glowing eyes dim but resolute. "Yes, hunters never stop. They will follow until she is gone, or until you carry her beyond their reach." Daniel's throat tightened. He had never been more afraid, yet the thought of leaving the child to die was unbearable. He reached down, offering his arm. She hesitated only a moment, then accepted, and together they lifted the baby carefully, Daniel wrapping his coat around the fragile body. The forest was quiet, too quiet, as if every creature sensed the danger. Daniel led them through the trees, his steps quick but cautious, his ears straining for any sound. The mother moved gracefully despite her exhaustion, her silver form glinting faintly in the rising sun. They reached the edge of the forest where Daniel's old truck was parked, rusted, scratched, but still running. He opened the door. The mother hesitated, staring at the machine with wary eyes. This will carry us. Daniel nodded, sliding behind the wheel. It's not much, but it's all I've got. She climbed in carefully, holding the baby close. Daniel turned the key. The engine roared, too loud, echoing across the valley, and with that sound the chase began. The truck rumbled down the dirt road, dust rising behind them, Daniel's hands tight on the wheel, his eyes scanning the mirrors. At first there was nothing, only empty fields and sky, but soon the shadows appeared again. Tall shapes moving along the tree line, faster than any human. The mother's voice pierced his mind, urgent. They are here, they will not let us go. Daniel pressed the pedal, the truck groaning as it picked up speed. The hunters broke from the trees, their armor glinting red in the sun, their movements swift and inhuman. They ran with impossible speed, their weapons glowing. A blast struck the road behind them, dirt and rock exploding. The truck jolted. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Hold on," he shouted, though the mother heard him without words. Another blast came, striking the side. The truck swerved wildly. Daniel fought the wheel, his heart pounding. He glanced at the baby, her tiny chest still rising weakly. Her hand twitching against her mother's arm. She could not survive another shock. He slammed the pedal harder, the engine roared, the hunters gaining, their weapons raised. Then the mother leaned out of the window, her eyes blazing blue. Energy shot from her hands, striking the ground. The earth cracked open, slowing the hunters. But only for a moment. They leapt over the fissure, relentless. Daniel's mind raced. They could not outrun them forever. He needed a plan. His road ahead curved toward the old bridge, half rotten, half forgotten. If it held, they could cross and lose them in the town beyond. If it broke, they would all fall. The hunters drew closer. One leapt onto the back of the truck, its claws slamming into the metal. The roof bent. Daniel swerved hard, the truck skidding. The hunter rolled off, crashing into the dirt. But more followed, their shadows stretching long behind them. The mother's voice trembled in his head. "You cannot fight them all. You must hide. You must find help among your kind." Daniel shouted through clenched teeth. "Help! My kind will never believe this. They'll take her away. They'll lock you both up." Her eyes burned. Not if they see, not if she wakes. Her light will show them. The truck hit the bridge. The wood creaked. The wheels bounced over gaps. Daniel's grip tight. The hunters fired again, the beam slicing into the planks. One board shattered. The truck swerved, nearly tipping. Daniel forced it forward, his teeth gritted. They reached the other side, the bridge groaning but holding. Daniel turned sharply onto the main road. The hunters slowed at the bridge, some leaping across, others vanishing back into the forest. But the chase was not over. The truck roared toward the town, houses in the distance, the rising sun painting the rooftops gold. Daniel's heart hammered. If he could just reach people, maybe the hunters would back away. Maybe. But a voice deep inside whispered, or maybe the danger wills. They only grow. The baby whimpered softly, a sound so weak yet so powerful. Daniel looked at her tiny face, pale silver, lips trembling, and he felt his fear sharpen into resolve. He could not fail her. He would not. Behind them the forest still burned with shadows. The hunters would not stop. They would chase until the end. And as the truck rolled into the quiet town, Daniel knew the real fight had only just begun. The truck rolled into the small town, its rusty engine growling as smoke drifted from the hood. Daniel's hands trembled on the steering wheel, his blistered palm aching from the shard he had held. Beside him the alien mother cradled her baby close, the child's breath shallow, her tiny body weak. The streets were quiet, only a few people stirring at dawn, their sleepy eyes turning to stare as the truck screeched past. Daniel's heart pounded. He knew he could not stop. Not yet. The hunters would come again. Their speed, their silence, their burning weapons. They would not rest. He pulled into the back of his laboratory, a small building filled with old machines, computers, and equipment. It was his sanctuary, the place where he had spent years chasing signals from the stars, never knowing one would answer. He slammed the door shut, locking it tight, dragging heavy shelves in front of it. The mother laid her baby on the table, her glowing eyes full of pain. "She is slipping away again. You must help her, human. You must." Daniel rushed to his cabinets, pulling wires, tools, old medical kits, his hands shaking. "I'm not a doctor. I don't even know what she needs." The mother's voice filled his mind, heavy with sorrow. She needs you. She needs the spark in your blood. That is the only thing that can wake her fully. Without it, she cannot survive. She is both of us, but she cannot live on my half alone. Daniel froze, his chest tightening. The spark in me, Simram. My blood, he whispered. You mean my life, my energy? If I give it, what happens to me? The mother's eyes lowered, her voice breaking. It will hurt you. It may weaken you. It may even kill you. But there is no other way. She was made from two worlds, and only by joining them again will she live. Daniel stumbled back, his head spinning, his breath shallow. Fear gripped him harder than ever before. He had fought hunters, he had run through fire, but this was different. This was not about bravery, it was about sacrifice. He stared at the baby, her silver skin pale, her chest rising slower with each breath, her tiny hand twitching weakly, and he felt his heart twist. If he did nothing, she would die. But if he gave too much, he might never rise again. The mother stepped closer, her voice trembling. You have a choice, human. No one can force you, but know this. If she dies, my kind will turn to war. They will believe humanity rejected her, rejected peace. Your people will fight mine, and the stars will burn. Daniel sank into a chair, his head in his hands. Memories rushed back, the nights he had wasted in loneliness, the years of searching for meaning, the times he whispered to himself that he was nothing, and now, suddenly, he was everything. The key, the bridge, the choice. His voice cracked. Why me? I never asked for this. I never wanted this. The mother knelt beside him, her silver hand touching his arm, her eyes glowing softly. Because sometimes fate does not ask, it simply chooses, and it chose you. Tears burned in Daniel's eyes. He looked at the baby again, so small, so helpless, yet so important. Her first cry had already touched his heart, her tiny life now tied to his. He rose slowly, his hands trembling but his voice firm. Tell me what to do. The mother guided him to the table, placing his hand gently on the child's chest. Close your eyes. Think of her as yours, not as alien, not as different, but as your own. Give her the spark of life, and she will take what she needs. Daniel's heart hammered. He closed his eyes. He thought of her small cry, the warmth of her fragile body, the desperate hope in her mother's eyes. He thought of his own emptiness, the loneliness that had haunted him, and he poured it all into that moment. A warmth spread from his chest to his arm, into his hand. The shard of the cocoon on the table began to glow. The baby's skin shimmered faint blue, her chest rising a little stronger, her tiny hand clutching his finger. Pain ripped through Daniel's body, sharp, burning, as if his very soul was being pulled out. He gasped, sweat pouring down his face, his knees shaking, but he did not pull away. He gritted his teeth, whispering, "Breathe, little one, breathe." The glow spread brighter, filling the room. Machines rattled, glass cracked. The baby's chest lifted higher. A gasp escaped her lips. Her eyes flickered open, glowing blue like her mother's. She let out a sharp cry, louder than before. Alive. The mother sobbed silently, clutching Daniel's shoulder. You did it, human. You saved her. But Daniel collapsed, his body trembling, his skin pale, his breath shallow. The spark had left him weak. The room spun around him, darkness creeping at the edges of his vision. The mother's voice whispered in his fading mind. Rest now. You gave her life, but the hunters will not stop. They will come again, and soon you must decide again if you will stand or if you will fall. Daniel's eyes closed, the baby's cry echoing in his ears, not a cry of pain but of life. And in that sound he found both peace and terror, because he knew the final choice had only begun. The world was spinning when Daniel opened his eyes again, his breath shallow, his body weak, every muscle aching as if he had carried mountains. The ceiling above him was cracked, wires hanging loose, the soft hum of broken machines filling the air. He tried to rise, but pain pinned him down. Then he heard it, a sound small but strong, a baby's cry, not weak this time, not fading, but alive. Daniel turned his head slowly, and there she was, the alien child, her small chest rising with steady breaths, her eyes glowing faint blue as she reached her tiny hand toward the light. Beside her, the alien mother knelt, her silver face shining with tears, her eyes locked on him, glowing with gratitude. Her voice whispered in his mind, "She lives because of you, human. You gave her what I could not. You gave her the spark of life." Daniel tried to smile, though his lips were dry and cracked. "She's stronger now," he whispered, his voice barely a breath. The mother nodded. "Yes, but the hunters will return, and when they do, they will not only come for her, they will come for you, because you are part of her now. Your life and hers are bound together." Daniel's heart trembled, the weight of her words heavy. He was no longer just a man, no longer just a scientist hidden in his lonely lab. He was tied to the future of two worlds. The baby cooed softly, her small glowing eyes turning to him, her tiny hands stretched weakly toward his face. Daniel raised his trembling fingers, letting her curl her hand around his. Warmth spread through him, gentle and pure. He felt a bond that words could not explain. She was no longer just the child of an alien mother. She was his too. The mother's voice broke the silence, soft but filled with awe. She spoke to me. She spoke her first word. She called you father. Daniel's chest tightened, his eyes stung with sudden tears. Father, he repeated. Ed softly, the word foreign on his lips, yet it felt right, it felt real, but the moment of peace shattered as a deep rumble shook the walls. Lights flickered, dust rained from the ceiling. Outside, the air vibrated with an unnatural hum. Daniel forced himself to sit up, his body weak but his mind alert. They're here, he whispered. The mother stood quickly, clutching her child close, her eyes sharp. Yes, the hunters. They will not stop until one of us is gone. But now they fear you too. They know the spark is in you. They know you are part of her life. Daniel's hands clenched, though his body screamed in pain. He pushed himself to his feet, staggering, his voice steady despite the weakness. Then we face them together. If she is the bridge, then we are the shield. The mother's eyes glowed brighter, a small nod of respect. You have chosen, human. You are no longer only a witness. You are one of us. The door burst open, red light flooding the room. Hunters poured inside, their armor shining, their weapons humming. Daniel grabbed the glowing shard from the table, the same piece of the cocoon that had once burned his hand. Now it felt like part of him, alive, pulsing with his heartbeat. The mother stood beside him, her hands crackling with blue energy, the baby's cry rising as if urging them forward. The hunters raised their weapons, but Daniel did not step back. His fear was still there, but something greater had taken its place. Resolve. The fight was brutal, red beams cutting through the lab, machines exploding, walls cracking. Daniel swung the shard, deflecting fire, each strike filling his body with pain but also power. The mother's blue light clashed with the hunters, shaking the ground, the baby's faint glow spreading through the room like a living shield. For every hunter that fell, more appeared, shadows slipping from the smoke. But Daniel no longer thought of survival for himself. Every move he made was for the child, every strike for her breath, every cry of pain for her future. At last, the room went still. Hunters broken, their armor sparking, the few left retreating into the shadows, their voices echoing like distant thunder. This is not the end, human. The stars will judge you. Silence followed, broken only by the baby's steady breathing. Daniel dropped to his knees, the shard falling from his hand, his chest heaving. The mother placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft. You stood when you could have run, you gave when you could have kept. That is what makes you human. Daniel looked at the child, her glowing eyes watching him, her tiny lips moving as if forming words, and then, with a voice faint but clear, she whispered again, Father. Tears ran down his face, his heart swelling. He reached for her, holding her gently, her warmth against his chest. In that moment he understood. She was not just the hope of her kind, she was the hope of his too. The dawn light broke fully through the shattered windows, painting the room gold, and Daniel whispered, If war is coming, then we will face it together. The mother's glowing eyes softened. Together, human, together we will make them see. And as the child nestled against him, her glow spreading brighter, Daniel felt the weight of destiny settle on his shoulders, heavy yet unshakable. For the first time in his life, he was not alone. He was a father, he was a protector, he was the bridge. And somewhere in the silence beyond the dawn, the universe held its breath, waiting for what would come next.